Welcome. Let's look today and this week at some of the ideas people have that stem from a basic misunderstanding of the nature of things. Here's 10 things you might have upside down. The truth isn't complex. It's elegantly simple. 2. You're at choice about everything. 3. Death is not a big deal. 4. Your feelings are a big deal. 5. Worry creates what you're worrying about. 6. Bad people don't go to hell. 7. There is no world out there. 8. Hard work is unnecessary. 9. Science is creating, not discovering. And 10. You don't have to have faith. As we examine the truisms of your world and discover that maybe there's some things you have upside down, your first reaction will likely be that these new concepts are complex. They are not. Yes, they're a new way of seeing you and your world, and yes, it may take a bit of getting used to seeing things the right way up. But once you make the mental shift, once you allow yourself to observe things from this new perspective, you move from complex answers to simple answers. You move from questions that lead only to more questions and more stories to questions that open you up to knowing who you are and what you're doing here. Let's begin. 1. The truth isn't complex. It's elegantly simple. At the core of everything are these absolutes. 1. You're a timeless, spaceless consciousness, an always connected part of the collective consciousness of Source. 2. Your desires and belief choices create you and the matching context that surrounds you. Within that context, you have experiences that give rise to new desires and new choices. With each new choice, you step into a new version of you and your context. This is all there is that sits beneath who you are and why you're here. This is your ongoing adventure. Although calling it a law doesn't come close to describing how fundamental it is to your existence and your experiences, but that absolute number 2 is what you call the law of attraction. Some call it different names. Some say there are 7 or 20 or 100 other cosmic laws. But these are either derivations from the law of attraction, or they're invented by those who still have the story upside down to some extent, and they are therefore, by definition, stuck in complexity. Let's keep going here. And as we do, allow yourself to get out of the world for a little. Deep in your heart, you know the truth is fundamental simplicity. Let that knowing be your guide. 2. You're at choice about everything. Well, not the absolutes, those you're not at choice about. They just are. But everything else is a choice. Here's the process. You choose consciously what to believe and expect. You teach your superconscious the new story. When you and your superconscious are in alignment, you step into a new version of you, and a new version of your context, you and your worlds, wraps itself around you. That's it. We'll grant you that the teach your superconscious part is key to this, and it takes some focus. But literally, there's nothing you are not in charge of, nothing you cannot change, nothing you cannot be, do, or have. 3. Death is not a big deal. Well, it's not necessarily a big deal. It's simply another choice you make, and therefore it will be whatever you expect it to be. Except that it cannot be, of course, the end of everything, because fundamentally there is no end. You simply step outside the restrictions of space and time. You choose a new game. To those of you who have thought of non-physical things as beyond your power to choose, not so. Your context is always a match to you, non-physical just as much as physical. Just be aware, perhaps, that in that new context, your perspective will be different, and your new decisions will potentially be different sorts of decisions. 4. Your feelings are a big deal. Your feelings are not some sort of internal thing that you have going on that's of no real importance. Your feelings are your emotional guidance system. Remember from absolute number 1, you're an always connected part of Source. When you pinch off that connection, you feel bad because you're heading away from who you are at your core and from what you want. When you're moving in alignment with all of that, your heart sings. So every time you feel bad, be aware that you're cutting yourself off from the very thing that you came here to do. Experience the joy of creating in this very special context of yours, and it's time to change direction. 5. Worry creates what you're worrying about. One of our members recently said, "I have to look after Maddie the pup for a few days and I'm worried about it." Surely that's natural. I'm just preparing for eventualities. Well, here's what's upside down about that. Choosing to worry, and yes, it's always a choice, is focusing on the possibility or probability that something you don't want is going to happen, thereby inviting that into your experience. It's all in how you feel. If you're in eager anticipation, or even if you're just feeling confident and just making sure you've got everything covered, you're on the right track. But worry feels bad. Worry creates what you don't want. 6. Bad people don't go to hell. Let's look at this on 3 levels. Firstly, good and bad are human judgments. Secondly, if there are bad people in your world, they are there and only there because you expect that they will be. Infinite versions of everybody exist, and what appears in your context will be a right now match to you. And thirdly, there is no absolute place that approximates as a hell, because as we've talked about, what exists in any of your realms or contexts is created by your choices. And remember that your natural state is alignment with Source. Like a cork in water, your natural state is to bob to the surface. 7. There is no world out there. There is no one world shared by everybody that you have to deal with. Your context is a virtual reality. It's like a movie playing in your mind, and what you're choosing to believe and line up with writes your screenplay. Into that virtual reality, you attract matching versions of everything and everybody. Everybody you intersect with is faithfully following that screenplay of yours, even as you, in different versions of you, are faithfully following their screenplays. Planet Earth is an illusion. Your experiences are real, but the planet is just the unique stage you've set up for the purpose of having those experiences. 8. Hard work is unnecessary. Well, while that's true in an absolute sense, of course, we have to qualify that a little. Like everything else in your world, it will be necessary or unnecessary based upon what you choose to believe. If you believe it's necessary, then you'd better be ready for some hard work, because without it, you, quote, know, unquote, you can't accomplish much. But it's not the work, hard or otherwise, that creates anything. Doing creates nothing. It's the belief that creates. We say, skip the hard work and choose to believe you can write whatever you want to into the screenplay of your movie. And you can, and so you will. 9. Science is creating, not discovering. More specifically, you are attracting the versions of the scientists that are showing up in your world, and what they come up with as ideas about your world will be what you expect them to be. The only things that exist in that world of yours are what you, quote unquote, know about, or what you know are possible. If you read some new facts, you are, in effect, filling in detail between the lines you've already drawn in your coloring book. So when you read, studies have shown, just remember this is your world, and you can have it be any way you want it to be. 10. You don't have to take a leap of faith. The absolutes of who you are and why you're here are simple. And not just simple, they make sense. You don't have to suspend logic or buy into some elaborate, complex theology, because it is our knowing that this fundamental explanation is both simple and logical. Your particular story, this movie called Your Life on Earth, will be as elaborate as you choose to make it. But there's nothing complex about the foundation beneath it upon which it is built. Perhaps you aren't even seeking answers about who you are and why you're here. But if you're looking for answers, and at some point you will do, that is your nature, then we are offering from our perspective these ideas as one elegantly simple theory of everything. As always, take what feels good, leave the rest. If you're just starting out with this, and if you can accept the possibility that it's your choices that are creating everything, we suggest you simply try it out. Each small success at making a change will build your confidence. Then the better it gets, the better it gets. And we are here, as always, to answer your questions.